So I've had a lot of people ask me what lenses they think that they should purchase if they're looking into getting into wedding photography. So I'm just going to show you a rundown of what lenses I used while shooting weddings and in what situations I would use them. Okay, so let's jump right in. So to start with, I know I said this is going to be about lenses, but I think it's important to talk about the bodies really quick before. Part of my system is actually what I'm using to film this video, but anyways, I shoot on two Canon 5D Mark IIs, and they're full frame cameras. They're really awesome. They're really good. You know, there's so many camera body options. It's really just what works for you and your price point and what you need it to do. These camera bodies have been great for me. They have great quality. No, they're not the newest thing on the market, but they're still trustworthy and faithful. And a big thing is, like, definitely if you're looking into getting into weddings, you have to have two bodies. So why do I say that? Why do I say you have to have two bodies? Well, you have to have a backup. So weddings are a very, very important event and cannot be rescheduled, cannot be like, oh wait guys, sorry, my camera broke, I gotta, you know, like you can't even run down to the store to buy another one, but you don't even have the time for that. So it's really important to have backups of everything, but if you're looking into getting into weddings, you must have a second body. If you don't have a second body, what you could have is make sure you always have a second shooter, so somebody with the equivalent of equipment, like another full frame camera. That's a Canon as well, or a Nikon as well, whatever system you're shooting on, so your lenses will work with it. And you know, if you had your body crap out, then your second shooter's body becomes your second body, your backup. Then you wouldn't have a second shooter at that point, but at least you can still take pictures at the wedding. You just gotta be responsible and think about the worst case scenario. And I'm a very positive person. I don't like to think about worst case scenario, but you have to be realistic and just cover your butt, because this is somebody's amazing wedding day and they're trusting you with it, so we need to do the best we can. So anyways, that's all. The first lens that I want to talk about is actually the lens I'm using to film this video right now. It is the Canon 35mm 1.4 L series lens. And so the thing I love about the 35, and I believe is just crucial to anybody who's wanting to get into weddings, is that focal length is wide enough that you can be in a smaller room and still capture everything really nice without a lot of distortion. And when I say that, meaning once you get down to even lower focal length, sometimes you have more distortion of the world around you because it's such a wide angle. And so 35 is just really great. It's even a great portrait lens to be able to get up really close to your subjects and all that kind of stuff. And I absolutely love this lens. It's on my camera body almost at least 75 to 80% of the time when I shoot weddings, because I just love being up close with my subjects. So it's just the perfect lens for me. And again, so if you're deciding to get into wedding photography, you really need something that's going to have a wide angle, because there's too many times you're in a room, like a getting ready room or something like that, and you don't have the flexibility to take a step backwards. You have to be able to capture something in a small space. It's also great if you're taking a picture of, you know, something that's down on the ground and you can just stand above it and take pictures with it with a 35. Anything like that is really great. So I love the 35. It's a really great lens, and it's definitely crucial to have some kind of wide angle lens in your arsenal for wedding photography. Moving on, I will talk about, I have the Sigma Art 50mm here. I think this is also 1.4. Yes, it is. And so this is when I recently purchased lenses. It's really freaking sharp, y'all. Like this, the clarity and the colors are awesome. Sigma outdid themselves. This lens is half the price of Canon L series lenses, and it still is freaking good. Feels nice in your hand. It is heavy. This glass is heavy, but it's just really beautiful. The nice part about having a 50mm is just a great focal length. It's a nice, the compression has a little bit of compression in the background, but then it also just creates really nice bokeh. It's still somewhat wide enough where you can still be kind of close to your subjects and not have to stand so far off. It really is just a universal, amazing lens focal length to have. Regardless of whatever brand it is, it's a nice focal length to have in your arsenal. There's a reason they call the 50mm a nifty 50, and that's just because it's so versatile. You can do a lot of stuff with this, and so I would recommend having this lens as well. It's a great backup, so let's say my 35 crapped out and I couldn't use it anymore, then my 50 would take over in that realm. Yes, I would have issues with being able to step back, but at least I could do what I can. Again, you gotta have at least 2 lenses, you guys, because you can't skip down to Walmart and buy a new one. This isn't how that works. You gotta be prepared, and so these would be 2 great lenses to have. You could shoot an entire wedding with just these 2 if you had to. But another lens that I think is really great, this is Canon's 85mm 1.8. This is not an L series lens, but it is a pretty dang awesome lens. This is the first lens I ever bought when I started photography a long time ago. I'll try to think of how long it was and put it in the comment part. But I think I was a junior in high school, and so that would have been 2011. Okay, here we go. 2011, little M bought this lens. I was using my school's camera bodies at that point, but this was all I had to my name, and this was perfect because I knew that I needed to achieve a really creamy, nice bokeh background, and this little bad boy can do it. I think this thing runs at around $400, maybe less now. And it's just a great lens if you're trying to get into portrait photography or anything like that. This is a great lens to start with. Don't be devastated. You don't have to start with the L series lenses. You can work your way up, and these are great. Canon has several lenses in this series that are great for the price and a really good place to start. A big thing when getting into photography is you've got to get a prime lens that has a low f-stop. That low f-stop is going to let you achieve, which I don't want to get into too much technicalities here, but achieves that where that the person is in crisp focus and the background just drops out behind it, is all blurry and creamy and beautiful. These lenses achieve that, and so if you're looking into that, this would be a great lens to get. It is an 85mm. So you have to stand a little bit further away from your subjects, and especially if you're starting out new and you don't have a full frame camera, you have a crop sensor camera, it's going to be zoomed in even further. And so if you are trying to get into photography, wedding photography or stuff like that, you definitely have to stand further away from your subjects with this one. So it wouldn't be a great one for doing in-home sessions or anything like that, but if you have space outside, it is a beautiful, beautiful portrait lens. I still use it. You know, it's still great. So this is a good one. Okay, next up I have the Canon macro 100mm L series lens. It's a 2.8. The primary purpose I have this lens is honestly just to capture like detail shots, ring shots, any of the beading, anything that's intricate. This lens just shows off and does amazing with it. It's like you entering a whole new world having that macro capabilities. So I really love this lens. You can't achieve it with any other, you know, I can't do it with my 35 or 50. And so this lens is great. Another purpose for this lens could be shooting ceremonies or portraits. You could definitely use this lens. Mine is, I got it used, and so I don't use it for that purpose because it's only manual focus. And so, but it does have autofocus, just mine's broken. But you could definitely use this for ceremonies because you have that 100mm focal length, so you have that decent reach to be able to stand in the back of a chapel and capture those beautiful shots. And because of its lower f-stop of 2.8, you still can achieve that look to fit your aesthetic if you like that lower f-stop look and shallow depth of field. So this is a great lens to have. And it's also a great portrait lens too if you need to justify buying it just to do ring shots or something like that. Moving on. This bad boy, this is the 70-200 2.8 Canon L series lens. The main reason I use this lens is for shooting ceremonies. So this is a really heavy lens, by the way, too. So on the wedding day, I don't like to have this on for longer than I have to, just because it gets heavy. But there's nothing like it that can produce this kind of reach and look. And I think I just love it because during a ceremony things are happening really fast, and I love that it's down to 70 and all the way to 200, so I'm not having to switch between lenses and stuff on my camera body while things are quickly happening like vows and all that stuff. So I also think I definitely believe you could shoot a whole ceremony with a 50 or an 85 and you'd be fine. But if you want to be even more unobtrusive and you want to have, this helps you be even more stealthy and behind the scenes and non-distracting, and that's part of like something that's important to me and my brand. And so this lens was really worth it to me because I wanted to be super out of the way and out of the scenes while still getting those really close-up shots and wow-worthy images, but being able to stand off. This is also a really great portrait lens as well. It creates, the compression is just incredible, and it just totally makes that focus draw straight to your subjects, and it's just really great lens. My only complaint is that it's heavy to me. As a small person, it is a lot to carry, and so I don't use it as much, but I do love it, and there are definitely certain situations where I love to crank this thing out, but primarily ceremonies. Okay guys, and my setup's pretty simple, and that's all that I have. You know, I do have a few on the wish list, and I'll drop that down below, but you know, this is just one way to do it. There's no definite way. It's really finding what works best for you, for the aesthetic and my style. I love prime lenses and stuff, so that's why I have more lenses that are primes, but there's a lot of great other lens options and a lot of other wedding photographers that use other things. This is just what I found works best for me and my business. I also try to take a minimalism approach because I don't want to be carrying a lot of gear or fiddling with a lot of stuff, so I just try to rock and roll with a few and love those things really hard, and that's kind of how I roll. But anyways, I'd love to hear what you do, or if you have any other questions or ideas or thoughts. And thanks for joining, guys.